Ladies and gentlemen, I've been around long enough to see a lot of things. I've seen people rise, I've seen people fall, and I've seen people beg for attention. And here's the thing: when you're busy begging for attention, you're not focusing on what really matters. When I was young, I wanted attention. I wanted people to know who I was, what I could do. I was hungry for recognition. But what I've learned over the years is that real success doesn't come from begging for attention. It comes from earning respect through your actions, your character, and your integrity. And let me tell you something, don't ever forget this: there's no shortcut to respect. You can't buy it. You can't beg for it. And you certainly can't force people to give it to you. Respect is earned. And it's earned the hard way by showing up, doing the work, and most importantly, staying true to who you are. Too often in life, we get caught up in this idea that we need validation. We want to be seen, we want to be heard, and we want to be recognized. And it's natural. We're human beings. We want to be acknowledged. But the truth is, you don't need to beg for attention. What you need to do is focus on doing the work and letting your actions speak louder than your words. The world doesn't owe you anything. It doesn't owe you recognition. It doesn't owe you applause. And it certainly doesn't owe you validation. But what the world does owe you is an opportunity to prove yourself, an opportunity to show your worth through your actions. Let me ask you something. How many times have you seen people walk into a room and they want all the eyes on them? They want everyone to notice them. They want everyone to hear them. They want to be the center of attention. But here's the truth: being the center of attention is not the same as being respected. Being respected is about more than just being seen. It's about having people believe in you, trust you, and know that when you speak, your words matter. I've been on this journey for a long time, and I've seen what happens to people who spend all their time begging for attention. It's like a drug. It's temporary. You get a little hit of validation, but it wears off. And then you find yourself chasing after it again. That's no way to live. Instead of chasing attention, chase excellence. Chase purpose. Chase what's going to make you better, not for the sake of someone else's approval, but for the sake of your own growth, your own future. Excellence is the attention you want to earn. Excellence is what will keep you standing tall long after the applause fades. When I first started acting, I wasn't the most famous guy. I wasn't the most well-known. But I understood one thing: I was going to put in the work. I was going to show up every day, give my best, and keep learning. And you know what? Over time, people took notice. They saw the effort. They saw the commitment. And slowly but surely, the attention started to come. Not because I begged for it, not because I demanded it, but because I earned it. Listen, I'm not saying you shouldn't have goals. You should. You should absolutely have dreams and ambitions. But don't base those dreams on the desire to be seen or admired. Base them on your desire to become better at your craft, better at your character, better at what you do. And when you focus on becoming better, people will take notice. They will recognize your dedication. They will see the value you bring. But here's where it gets tricky. You can't just wait for the world to see you. You have to be willing to put in the work. You have to be willing to show up when no one's watching. You have to be willing to grind, to sacrifice, to keep moving forward, even when the world doesn't seem to care. And that's when the world will notice you. I've met so many people who were talented, so many people who had all the potential in the world, but they wanted attention so badly they got distracted. They lost sight of the real work. They thought they could get by on the superficial, the flash, the noise, the instant gratification. But let me tell you something that ain't it. The flash is temporary. The spotlight will shine on you for a moment, but it will move on to the next person, the next thing. But when you build a legacy of real work, when you build a legacy of impact, the spotlight doesn't matter. You create your own light, your own presence, your own legacy. So stop begging for attention. Stop chasing what everyone else is chasing. Don't get caught up in the distractions, the likes, the follows, the constant validation on social media. That's not what will sustain you. What will sustain you is the work. I want to leave you with this thought: the world doesn't need more people trying to get attention. The world needs more people who are willing to put in the work, to be consistent, to be disciplined, and to stay true to themselves. You want to be respected? Then show up every day ready to do the work. Show up with a purpose, not just a desire for attention. Show up and deliver, not for the applause, but because it's what you're meant to do. And the attention will follow, but it won't be the kind you beg for. It'll be the kind that comes from doing the work. The kind that comes from earning it. And when you get that attention, when you finally get the recognition you deserve, don't let it change you. Stay humble. Stay grounded. Remember why you started and keep your eyes on the real prize, not the applause, not the recognition, but the impact you're making. Because when you stop begging for attention, you stop living for the approval of others. And true success comes not from seeking validation or attention from others, but from earning respect through your actions, integrity, and consistent effort. Respect is earned, not begged for. Focus on doing the work, improving your value through your character, rather than relying on external recognition. Instead of chasing after attention, pursue excellence in your craft, your work, and your personal development. Excellence is the attention you earn. It's the quality that will sustain you in the long run, not temporary applause or approval. Strive for improvement, not admiration. Chasing attention or validation can be a distraction. People often focus too much on being seen, admired, or recognized, but that can lead to a hollow pursuit. Attention is fleeting, and it doesn't build real success or legacy. Stay focused on your growth and your impact, not on seeking praise. True fulfillment and recognition come from consistent hard work, discipline, and commitment, even when no one is watching. Do the work, even in the quiet moments, and over time, people will take notice. Attention will follow the effort, but it shouldn't be the driving force behind what you do. These keynotes reinforce the idea that true success is rooted in integrity, persistence, and a focus on personal growth, not the pursuit of fleeting external validation. We live in a world where people are constantly seeking attention. It's not just something that happens in the realm of entertainment, sports, or business, but in everyday life. It's everywhere. Whether it's on social media, at work, or even within our own families, people are desperately trying to be seen, heard, and acknowledged. But the truth is, if you're focused on begging for attention, you're missing the bigger picture. Attention is fleeting, it's temporary. It doesn't last. But respect is something different. Respect is earned. It's not something you can simply demand or manipulate your way into. It comes through your actions, your work ethic, your integrity, and the way you show up when no one is watching. If you're constantly chasing the spotlight, you'll find yourself always hungry for more. But if you focus on earning respect through your actions, you'll find that the attention you seek will follow naturally, and it will be far more rewarding than anything you could have begged for. When I say earn respect, what I mean is that you have to prove your worth day in, day out. It's not about what you say, it's about what you do. Words are powerful, no doubt, but actions are what speak loudest. Respect is something that over time people recognize because they've seen you put in the work. They've seen your character. They've witnessed your resilience and your ability to keep moving forward. Even when the odds are stacked against you, people notice when you stay true to who you are, when you do what you say you're going to do, when you show up with humility and authenticity, and when you lead by example. You can't fake that. People can see through the facade. The truth will always come to light. When you beg for attention, you're putting all your focus on being seen in the moment, but what you don't realize is that being seen in the moment doesn't necessarily mean people are respecting you. It's easy to be noticed, but it's much harder to earn genuine respect. And that's the type of attention that matters. Respect is about consistency. It's about showing up time and time again, doing the work, and not looking for applause. It's about maintaining your integrity in moments when no one else is watching, or when there's no one around to praise you. It's about the grind, the hustle, and the quiet confidence that comes from knowing you're doing the right thing, even when it's hard. It's easy to show up when the cameras are on you, when there's an audience, when people are watching your every move, but it takes a different kind of strength to keep going when it's just you and your thoughts. And there's no one else around to give you recognition. Too many people get caught up in the idea of needing validation from others. We live in a world now where social media has amplified this need for external validation. We post pictures, we share our thoughts, and we hope for likes, comments, and shares. But let me ask you something. What happens when you don't get that validation? What happens when no one reacts? What happens when no one notices? If your self-worth is tied to how many likes you get, or whether people respond to your posts, then you're always going to be chasing an elusive high. You'll never be satisfied, and you'll always feel like you're not enough. The sad truth is, the more you beg for attention, the more you diminish your own self-worth. When you constantly seek validation from others, you're giving away your power. You're allowing other people's opinions to define who you are. But when you earn respect, you take control of your own value. You define who you are by your actions, your character, and the impact you make in the world. And that kind of respect, that's something that no one can take away from you. It's yours to keep, and it grows stronger with each day you commit to being the best version of yourself. Earning respect isn't about impressing people. It's not about showing off or trying to prove something. It's about being humble enough to understand that no matter where you are or how far you've come, you always have room to grow. You're always striving to be better for yourself, not for anyone else. And when you do that, you begin to earn something far more valuable than fleeting attention. You earn the trust of those around you. You earn the respect of your peers, your colleagues, your friends, and your family. And that trust and respect, that's what sustains you. That's what carries you through the difficult times. That's what will have people standing behind you when the chips are down. I can tell you from personal experience, the most fulfilling moments in my life have never come from the applause of others. The most rewarding moments have come from knowing that I gave my best, that I put in the effort, that I showed up when it wasn't easy, that I did the right thing even when no one was watching. I've learned that the real power lies not in seeking the spotlight, but in standing in the truth of who you are, regardless of who sees it. The spotlight might shine on you for a minute, but it can disappear just as quickly. But respect sticks with you. It stays with you. It follows you through every door you walk through, every challenge you face, every battle you fight. There's another important thing to understand when we talk about earning respect. It's not about waiting for someone else to give it to you. It's not about waiting for the right opportunity to come along or for someone to hand you a platform. It's about creating your own path. It's about showing up day in and day out, even when no one's watching, and doing the work that's required to reach the next level. And over time, when you stay true to that, people will recognize you. They'll recognize your effort. They'll recognize your commitment. They'll see the real you. And guess what? The people who truly respect you will respect you for who you are, not for what you can do for them. They will respect you because they understand the value you bring. And that respect will be the foundation of any true relationship, whether personal or professional. When you beg for attention, you're looking for validation from people who might not even understand the full scope of your journey or who might not even value what you bring to the table. But when you earn respect, you're doing so from a place of authenticity. You're not trying to fit into someone else's mold. You're not trying to be something you're not. You're showing up as your true self. You're being respected for the value you bring, not for the image you try to portray. So stop wasting your time trying to beg for attention. Stop trying to fit in with the crowd, trying to be what others expect of you. Focus on your craft. Focus on your integrity. Focus on being the best version of yourself. And when you do that, the attention will follow. But more importantly, you'll earn the respect of the people who matter, the people who see you for who you truly are, not for what you can offer in the moment. And remember, respect isn't something that happens overnight. It takes time. It takes patience, it takes perseverance. But when you build your reputation on respect, on honesty, on consistency, on hard work, that's something that lasts. That's something that will continue to grow and strengthen no matter where life takes you. Because at the end of the day, when all the noise dies down, when the applause fades away, the respect you've earned will be the one thing that remains solid, unwavering, and undeniable. That's the attention you should be striving for. The respect that comes from doing the work, staying true to who you are, and being consistent. Don't beg for attention. Earn respect, and the rest will follow. In a world that thrives on validation, it's easy to get lost in the pursuit of being seen, recognized, and acknowledged. Every time we post something online, we check for likes, comments, shares, hoping for external affirmation that we matter, that we're important. And while seeking recognition is a natural part of being human, it can easily become a distraction, a dangerous one. The truth is, validation is fleeting. You can get 1,000 likes on a post one day, but by the time the next post comes around, you're already looking for more. The cycle becomes endless, and you're left always chasing something that never quite fills you up. So let me tell you something that took me years to fully grasp. Don't chase validation. Chase excellence instead. Excellence is something entirely different from validation. It's not dependent on anyone else's approval or acknowledgement. Excellence is about setting a standard for yourself and committing to it no matter what. It's about pushing yourself to do the best you can, even when no one is watching, even when the spotlight isn't on you. Excellence is the quiet force that drives you to constantly improve, refine, and become better. Excellence is an internal standard, not one that's set by others. And when you focus on excellence, the validation you seek from others will come naturally, not because you asked for it, but because you've earned it. I'll be the first to tell you that this isn't always easy. Society constantly bombards us with messages that we need to be noticed. We need to stand out. We need to be seen. Social media, for example, rewards the loudest, the most attention-grabbing. The more you shout, the more followers you get, the more likes you accumulate, the more recognition you receive. But at the end of the day, that kind of recognition is surface level. It's shallow. It doesn't feed your soul. It doesn't sustain you in the long run. Excellence, on the other hand, is a foundation. It's something that stays with you. Excellence doesn't care about the applause or the accolades. It cares about doing the best you can every single day. It's about the process, not the outcome. When you chase excellence, you're setting yourself up for long-term growth and fulfillment. Because here's the thing, no one can take excellence away from you. They can take away your awards, they can take away your recognition, they can take away your followers, but they can't take away the satisfaction that comes from knowing you gave your all. People who focus on excellence are the ones who have a lasting impact. They're the ones who, over time, build a reputation not based on temporary applause, but on consistent, high-quality work. Excellence doesn't need validation. It creates its own validation through results. It builds trust. It earns respect. When you consistently show up with excellence, people take notice, but not because you beg for attention. They take notice because your work speaks for itself. Think about some of the most respected figures in history, people like Martin Luther King Jr., Maya Angelou, Thomas Edison, or Albert Einstein. They didn't do what they did for the sake of validation. They didn't do it to win awards, to make headlines, or to get likes on social media. No, they did it because they were driven by excellence. They were driven by a vision, by a sense of purpose. And because they focused on excellence in their work, they became legends. Their impact is still felt today because they didn't get distracted by the need for validation. They stayed focused on their craft, on their mission, and on their vision. Now, this doesn't mean you shouldn't care about recognition. Recognition and validation are part of the human experience, and they can be rewarding. But if that's all you're after, you'll find that you're always running on empty. You'll always be searching for the next hit of affirmation. Instead of focusing on external validation, let your work speak for itself. Let your excellence be the thing that draws people to you. Let the quality of what you do be what defines you. When you shift your focus from external validation to internal excellence, you begin to see things differently. Excellence is about striving for the highest possible standard, not perfection. Perfection is an illusion, it's unattainable, but excellence is something we can all aim for. It's about consistently pushing the boundaries of what you can achieve. It's about constantly refining your craft, learning, growing, and evolving. Excellence is a mindset, a way of life. It's not about comparing yourself to others or trying to live up to someone else's expectations. It's about setting your own bar and meeting it every single day, even when no one else is watching. Here's the reality: you can't control how people perceive you. You can't control whether they like you, admire you, or validate you. But what you can control is the work you put out into the world. You can control the effort you give, the time you invest, and the commitment you make to becoming the best version of yourself. And when you focus on that, people will notice. Not because you ask them to, but because excellence stands out. People can't help but recognize excellence when they see it. It's magnetic. It draws people in, whether it's in your work, your character, or your passion. And let's talk about the power of persistence for a moment. Excellence isn't something that happens overnight. It's the result of consistent effort, time, and practice. It's about showing up every day, even when things are tough, even when you feel like you're not getting the recognition you deserve. Success doesn't come from waiting for validation. It comes from putting in the work day after day. It comes from pushing through challenges, overcoming setbacks, and continuing to move forward, even when it seems like no one is paying attention. I've seen so many people who are incredibly talented, but they get discouraged because they don't get the recognition they think they deserve. They get caught up in the external validation and forget about the value of the internal process. They want the spotlight without realizing that true greatness comes from the hours spent in silence and preparation and practice. It comes from being willing to keep going when the applause has stopped. True excellence is about being the best you can be when no one else is looking. Excellence also builds resilience. When you're focused on doing the best work you can, you learn to handle criticism, rejection, and failure with grace. When you're chasing external validation, every rejection feels like a personal attack. You tie your worth to the approval of others. But when you focus on excellence, rejection is just part of the process. It's feedback. It's an opportunity to improve. Excellence teaches you how to handle setbacks without losing your sense of self. It teaches you to keep moving forward, even when things aren't going as planned. And here's the most important part: excellence breeds confidence. Not the kind of confidence that comes from boasting or seeking validation, but the quiet, unshakable confidence that comes from knowing you've done the work, that you've given your best. When you know you've given everything to something, when you've poured your heart and soul into it, you don't need anyone else to tell you you've done a good job. You already know. And that confidence, the confidence that comes from a job well done, is far more powerful than any validation you could receive from others. So stop chasing approval. Stop seeking validation. Stop measuring your worth by the number of likes you get or the number of people who notice you. Instead, focus on excellence. Focus on becoming the best version of yourself every day. Put in the work. Strive for greatness. And watch as the attention you once sought begins to follow you naturally, not because you begged for it, but because you've earned it through your dedication, your excellence, and your commitment to doing the work. Excellence is the most powerful form of validation you can give yourself. It's the one that lasts. And when you build your life around it, you'll find that the recognition and respect you desire will come not because you asked for it, but because you earned it through hard work, persistence, and an unwavering commitment to being the best you can be. We live in a world that thrives on external validation. From the moment we wake up, we're bombarded with messages that encourage us to seek approval, admiration, and recognition from others. It starts with the way we present ourselves online through social media platforms, where every post, photo, and status update is an opportunity to get likes, comments, and shares. It continues in our professional lives, where promotions, awards, and titles are often seen as measures of success. And it even extends to our personal relationships, where we sometimes rely on others' opinions to define our worth. We're taught from a young age that validation is the key to feeling seen, loved, and important. But here's the truth: seeking external validation can be dangerous. It may feel good in the short term, but relying on the approval of others can leave us feeling empty, anxious, and constantly chasing something that will never truly fulfill us. External validation is a fleeting reward. It's temporary, and it's dependent on other people's opinions, which are often subjective, changeable, and out of our control. The more we depend on validation from the outside world, the more we lose sight of our own intrinsic worth and the power of self-validation. When we seek external validation, we're often looking for a sense of confirmation or reassurance that we matter. In a world where comparison runs rampant and social media serves as a constant reminder of other people's successes, it's easy to fall into the trap of measuring ourselves against others. We look at someone else's life, their career, their relationships, their possessions, and we wonder if we're doing enough, if we're good enough. We begin to tie our self-worth to how others perceive us, and that is a slippery slope. The problem with this is that external validation is inherently unreliable. Other people's opinions are often based on their own biases, their experiences, and their limited understanding of who you truly are. What they think of you may have little to do with your actual worth, and it certainly doesn't define your potential. Validation from others is often influenced by trends, popularity, and social pressure. What's valuable or worthy today may not be the same thing tomorrow. So if you make your sense of self-worth dependent on the fleeting opinions of others, you're setting yourself up for disappointment. External validation is like chasing shadows. It's there for a moment, but it disappears just as quickly. Think about the last time you received praise or recognition. How long did that feeling of validation last? Maybe it lasted a few hours, or if you were lucky, a day. But then what happened? That sense of accomplishment faded, and you were left looking for the next source of validation. It's an endless cycle. It's like trying to fill a cup that has a hole in the bottom. No matter how much you pour in, it's never enough. External validation will never fill you up because it doesn't come from a deep place inside of you. It comes from the outside, from someone else's perspective. Moreover, constantly seeking validation from others can be exhausting. It can drain you emotionally, mentally, and even physically. You start to put so much energy into pleasing others, trying to meet their expectations and living up to their standards, that you forget about your own needs and desires. You lose sight of who you truly are and what you truly want. The constant pressure to be liked, approved of, or successful in the eyes of others can lead to burnout, stress, and a lack of fulfillment. When you're constantly seeking validation from others, you lose your own voice. You stop making decisions based on your values, your passions, and your dreams. Instead, you make decisions based on what will get you the most praise or attention. The more you try to please everyone, the more disconnected you become from your own true self. You begin to measure your worth by how many people approve of you instead of how much you approve of yourself. In the end, that disconnect leaves you feeling hollow, as though you're living someone else's life, not your own. Another danger of seeking external validation is that it creates a sense of dependency. You begin to rely on other people's approval to feel good about yourself. When you receive praise, you feel validated and worthy, but when the validation doesn't come, you feel inadequate, insecure, or even worthless. Your self-worth becomes tied to the emotional state of those around you. You're no longer the one in control of your happiness or self-perception. Instead, you've handed that power over to other people, and that's a dangerous position to be in. What happens when you stop receiving the validation you've been seeking? What happens when the applause dies down or the likes stop coming? For many people, it leads to a sense of emptiness, a void that can't be filled. Without external validation, they feel invisible, unimportant, or as though they've lost their identity. This is why people sometimes feel so depressed or anxious when they don't get the recognition they expect. They have built their sense of self-worth on something that is entirely out of their control, someone else's opinion. The truth is, if you rely on validation from others to feel good about yourself, you'll always be at the mercy of other people's moods, decisions, and perceptions. Your happiness will be subject to their judgment. That's why it's so important to build your sense of self-worth from within, to validate yourself without needing others to do it for you. This brings us to the most critical danger of seeking external validation. It takes away your sense of personal agency. When you live for others' approval, you give up your ability to make decisions based on your own values, desires, and ambitions. Instead, you let the opinions of others guide you. This can lead you to make choices that are not aligned with your true self, just to gain approval, recognition, or popularity. And when you constantly compromise your values or goals to please others, you lose touch with what really matters to you. This is especially true in our professional lives. Many people get caught up in the chase for promotions, titles, and accolades. They work tirelessly to gain recognition from their bosses, colleagues, or clients. But what often happens is that they begin to sacrifice their personal values, their passions, and their well-being in order to climb the corporate ladder or earn the next big paycheck. They're chasing validation, not fulfillment. In the pursuit of external recognition, they end up losing sight of what truly brings them joy and satisfaction. We also see this play out in social situations. People sometimes modify their behavior, attitudes, or beliefs just to fit in with a group or to gain approval from others. They change who they are at the core just to be accepted, to be liked, to be validated. But in doing so, they lose their authenticity. They stop being true to themselves, and as a result, they stop attracting the people who would love them for who they truly are. Instead, they end up surrounding themselves with people who are only interested in their superficial, inauthentic selves. And when they finally realize this, they're left feeling lonely, misunderstood, and disconnected. If we continue down the path of seeking validation from others, we risk living in a perpetual state of uncertainty. We become reactive instead of proactive. We wait for others to tell us we're worthy, valuable, or successful instead of recognizing those things for ourselves. This can lead to a lack of confidence, indecisiveness, and a constant fear of judgment. We second guess ourselves, wondering if what we're doing is enough in the eyes of others. And as long as we're waiting for external approval, we'll never truly be free. This is why it's so important to stop seeking validation from others and start validating ourselves. When we learn to give ourselves the validation we crave, we become our own source of strength and confidence. We stop relying on others to tell us we're worthy or good enough, and instead we recognize our own value. We start making decisions based on our authentic selves, not based on what will get us the most praise or attention. And when we do this, we find a deeper sense of fulfillment and purpose that no external validation can ever provide. The journey to self-validation is not easy, and it requires practice, patience, and self-compassion. But it is worth it. When we stop living for the approval of others and start living for our own truth, we can achieve a level of peace and confidence that cannot be shaken by anyone else's opinion. And that is the kind of validation that truly matters. In today's world, we're surrounded by distractions. We live in a time where instant gratification is at our fingertips, where everyone's looking for the quickest route to success, recognition, and validation. Social media constantly bombards us with images of people showing off their accomplishments, their possessions, their successes. It can feel like a race, a competition, and a constant need to keep up with the next best thing. We're always being told to hustle, to do more, to look for the next opportunity, and to make sure people notice us along the way. But amid all this noise, there's a simple truth that many overlook: the work is what matters. The work, not the applause, not the recognition, not the accolades, is the foundation of true success. It's easy to get caught up in the idea of needing attention, needing to be seen in order to feel validated. It's easy to chase after external markers of success like awards, promotions, and titles. But the work is the thing that endures. The work is the thing that sustains you when the applause fades. The work is what builds character, creates impact, and leaves a legacy. It's the unsung hours spent behind the scenes, the early mornings and late nights, the moments when no one is watching, that truly define who you are and where you'll go in life. When we talk about the work, we're not just talking about the physical act of doing something. We're talking about the commitment to excellence, the dedication to mastering your craft, the relentless pursuit of improvement. The work is the backbone of success. It's the unseen effort, the daily grind that no one may notice at first, but which compounds over time to create something significant. It's easy to show up when the spotlight is on you, but it's in the quiet moments, the moments when you're not being recognized, that the real growth happens. The work is about staying true to the process, even when it feels like no one is paying attention. One of the biggest mistakes people make today is focusing too much on the outcome and not enough on the process. We get caught up in what we want to achieve: the title, the fame, the money, and we forget that success is not a destination but a journey. The journey is in the work. It's the day-to-day discipline, the small improvements, the commitment to doing the right thing even when no one is watching. People see the end result and think success happens overnight, but the reality is the overnight success is usually years in the making. It's all those years of work that you didn't see, those late nights spent perfecting a craft, the failures that turned into lessons. The work is the story, and the results are just the ending chapter. And here's the thing: when you focus on the work, you also focus on your personal growth. The work isn't just about accomplishing tasks. It's about becoming a better version of yourself. It's about improving your skills, expanding your knowledge, and developing the discipline to keep going, even when things aren't easy. The real satisfaction doesn't come from the recognition or the external rewards. It comes from the fact that you've put in the effort. You've committed to something that matters to you, and you've given it your all. The work is the true measure of your character, not the accolades that come at the end of it. There's also something deeply powerful about being willing to do the work, even when no one is watching, when no one is there to acknowledge your effort. So much of our modern world is about visibility, being seen, being recognized, being validated. And there's nothing wrong with recognition, of course. It's great to be acknowledged for your efforts. But the work itself doesn't need to be seen in order to be valuable. In fact, the work that goes unnoticed, the effort that's put in when no one else is around to witness it, is often the most significant. It's what separates those who are truly committed to their craft from those who are just looking for attention. If you're only doing something because you want to be noticed, then the work itself becomes secondary. The pursuit of external validation becomes the driving force, and when that validation doesn't come, you'll quickly lose motivation. But if you're doing the work because you truly care about it, because you're committed to the process, then the results will come not because you're seeking them, but because you've put in the effort. Think about the people who are truly great in their fields, the ones who have made an impact, who have changed the game, who have left a legacy. They didn't get there by focusing on the outcome. They got there by dedicating themselves to the work, to improving their skills, to learning from failure, to refining their process. They spent years honing their craft before anyone noticed. The work was always the priority. And because they were committed to the work, the recognition and success came as a byproduct, not the goal. We've all heard the phrase, trust the process, but what does it really mean? It means putting your faith in the work, even when you can't see immediate results. It means knowing that the small steps you take today are laying the foundation for something bigger down the line. The process isn't always glamorous. It's not always fun. There are moments of frustration, of doubt, of failure. But it's in those moments that the true work is happening. It's in those moments that you're building resilience, grit, and determination. The work may not always feel rewarding in the moment, but it will pay off in ways you can't predict. The process is where the magic happens, even if it feels like you're not getting anywhere.